tell us a little bit more about this sting operations that led to the dismantling of these 30 drug labs.
A very good afternoon once again, Sepiso, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Well, these drug labs were obviously detected over that period of time. It was approximately within a year in which they were detected and disrupted. It was a joint effort between the South African Police Service, the Directorate for Priority Crimes Investigation, and various of our specialized units. But I think what is important to note is almost all of these drug labs were detected through our crime intelligence environment, and this has been a huge breakthrough for us, especially in combating drug trafficking, drug manufacturing, and drug trafficking within our borders and also outside of our borders.
Now, your report seems to talk about these drug labs mushrooming at just how exponential a rate, and do you have any locations for us? Are you able to tell us which areas they tend to target?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the areas where these drug labs were detected, they were in various parts of the country, in Gauteng, in KwaZulu-Natal, in the Eastern Cape, in Free State. Some of the areas that come to mind was Harding, one of the biggest drug labs there, Mandrax drug lab that we've uncovered there, where they were producing something in the region of 32 tablets, Mandrax tablets per second. And they had two machines in which they were using, or presses, should I say, which they were using to manufacture those tablets. Also in Potchefstroom, Putetichaba in the Free State, in the remote areas of the Eastern Cape, in KwaZulu-Natal, within suburbs. We even detected them in some complexes in Gauteng. There was a middle to high income group security complex where we uncovered a clandestine laboratory. So it's, the modus operandi seems to be changing every now and again. And I think obviously to distract the police. Also in Gauteng, near Erasmia, there was one in a disused farm where there was a drug lab, and one would never have guessed there was a drug lab manufacturing drugs there, running in that time. But luckily for us, with close working relationships with our communities, with information coming in as speedily as they do, we're able to act quickly. Some of the drug labs, we even were able to disrupt them before they even started operations. So these are some of the areas, like you've asked, where these drug labs have been operating, but they're never consistent. They can be in a suburb, they can be in a security complex, they can be in a disused farm. Like the one in Harding I mentioned was actually a farm that was procured solely for the manufacture of drugs. So that as well has been a bit concerning for us, because these drug lords and the syndicates are infiltrating areas of our country where it affects farming and so forth.
So Vish, this is what I was going to ask you, and I'm glad you spoke about that, because one is rather curious that how do they come into being? Are they syndicates working together, and are they just internal, or could this be part of an international drug ring? Have you been able to figure that out, the network?
Well, operations such as these, especially the ones that we've uncovered, it can never be done by individuals or, just by one or two people. It has to be an operation of the syndicate, because you have to firstly procure or source the ingredients for particularly the manufacture of Mandrax, for Turk, as well as, for example, to manufacture Mandrax, you have to get large quantities of methicillone powder. Then you need an MDMA base in which to line that particular drug with. And it has to be the work of a syndicate. It can't be just individuals. And when you're talking about the involvement of foreigners, well, in most of these drug labs, or should I say, at least 50% of these drug labs, we have arrested foreigners. But the thing is, they are the workforce. They were the workforce, not necessarily the kingpin. And when we investigate, we find that it does go into linking the figures from the underworld being involved in this, in the manufacture of these drugs. And at times when you find that drugs are being manufactured in Gauteng, it's not necessarily for distribution in Gauteng, because we have learned in some of these cases that they were actually being manufactured in Gauteng and being couriered to Western Cape, for example. So this is some of the way these drug syndicates are operating. They don't manufacture outside their doorsteps of their distribution centers.
Obviously, you're not going to share with us your tactics on how to combat this, but are you going to work with agencies outside of our borders?
No, very much so. We're working very closely. Remember, we are a member country of SAPCO, the South African Regional Police Chiefs Corporation, as well as Interpol. We work very, very closely with Interpol on much bigger projects, especially that are related to the manufacture and distribution of heroin that's coming through certain borders of our neighboring countries. So we work very closely with them. Also, drugs that are being shipped, through, on the Indian Ocean, and trying to come to through our ports of entry for the European destination, for example. So we work very closely with Interpol. We work very closely with our member countries from the SADC region, and we are achieving phenomenal successes as far as that is concerned.
And do those successes translate into convictions of those who've been arrested? I mentioned that your report says 60 people were arrested, for instance.
Yes, most definitely they do, because remember, when you find somebody in possession of the equipment and the ingredients to manufacture drugs, it becomes a straight charge. Where the complication comes in is trying to link the kingpins to these particular clandestine drug laboratories. But when we do link them positively and we have sufficient evidence and tangible evidence against them, then we are able to secure convictions. And we have secured convictions in almost all of those cases where we found people on the property manufacturing those drugs.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Brigadier Vish Naidoo.